Everybody ready? Sure. We'll go ahead and start. All right. Good morning, everyone. We will begin the Lee County Port Authority Board meeting. Today is May 16th, 2024. Time is 9:30. We'd like to have the invocation. I would like to introduce Pastor Todd Weston from River of Life Assembly for the invocation. Travis.
Good morning. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, your word says that it's in you we live, move, and exist. We want to thank you today for the gift of life. And we thank you for the privilege of living in beautiful Southwest Florida. I pray today for these Board of Port Commissioners, Special Airport Management Committee members, that you would grant to them discernment and wisdom and understanding as they today consider and discuss the items on this agenda. I pray that you will direct their thoughts and that their decisions will be for the continued success of Southwest Florida International Airport and the good and safety and well-being of all who travel through it. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Weston. Remain standing and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please be seated. All right, Mr. Hennington, I will turn it over to you for any staff recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have one recognition today. I'd like to introduce Carlos Najarro. He's up in the back right. He was recently promoted to Deputy Chief of the Lee County Port Authority Police Department. Chief Najarro has a bachelor's degree in administration from Barry University. He also has an associate's degree from Westwood College. He's a United States Air Force vet. He joined the police department in 2010. And in 2011, quick order, he was named Officer of the Year, was subsequently promoted to Sergeant in 2016, then Lieutenant, and now his current position is Deputy Chief. So congratulations to Deputy Chief Najarro. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, sir.
At this time, we will take up the consent agenda. Commissioner Pendergrass, do you have any items to pull?
None.
Commissioner Sandelli, any items to pull? Commissioner Hammond?
I have none.
Commissioner Rain?
No, sir.
I have none. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the balance of the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. We have a motion to move the balance from Commissioner Hammond, a second from Commissioner Rain. So at this time, I will ask for public comment. Any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. All right, so I have a motion to approve the balance from Commissioner Hammond, a second from Commissioner Rain. Any further discussions? No further discussions from the board? Okay. If I see no objections. All right, so it moves 5-0 unanimously. All right, we will move to the administrative agenda. We will now, Steve, please introduce item 15.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 15 is a motion to determine how to proceed with A&E services for two projects, and I'd like to have Mr. Fisher introduce the item.
Good morning, Commissioners and committee members. For the record, Mark Fisher. Administrative item 15 requests board concurrence related to providing architectural and engineering services for two projects discussed during our CIP workshop held at your last meeting in March: the RSW Concourse C and rental car relocation expansion projects. The board previously selected Atkins as the lead architect engineering firm to serve as the project's engineer of record from the start of design through the end of construction for three RSW projects: the terminal expansion currently under construction, Concourse C, 100% designed and ready for construction, and a rental car relocation expansion project ready to start design. While work continues on the terminal expansion project, we want to focus Atkins' manpower and resources on that ongoing project. So as such, staff has evaluated options of selecting other new A&Es for the other two projects in question. For Concourse E, the project is 100% designed and ready for construction. Changing engineering horses at this stage of the project would mean we'd need at least a year more to hire a new A&E. And we've also been awarded an $8 million grant from the FAA for fiscal year 2024 that we would not be able to accept. The rental car relocation expansion project is at a totally different place. We are ready to begin design, so it's a natural point to hire another A&E firm to begin that work. So to summarize the agenda item for Concourse E, over the past 5 years, your airport staff has navigated through multiple gauntlets to secure environmental approvals, secured over $74 million in federal state grants, worked to gain FAA approval to use $429 million in passenger facility charge funding for project costs and financing, developed phasing plans that least impact our passengers, working closely with the TSA, FAA, and our airport stakeholders, and negotiated a new 10-year airline agreement that pays the bottom line for the Concourse E project. So we're on target and geared up to build a new concourse here at RSW. So in order to get 14 new Concourse E gates up and running at RSW sooner, cheaper, and with the most grant funding, staff recommends the board approve the agenda item as recommended. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions or any comments from staff, board at this time? No? All right, I'll open up for public.
I have a question.
Okay, yes, sir.
Mark, there are different options, there's option 1 and 2 and 3. So we ask us to pick an option 2? Or just
No,
the agenda item?
No, I'm sorry, Commissioner, I think the green sheet should be just a single recommendation.
Okay.
And then the very last line gives you other options, just in a sentence. But
Okay.
there's a single recommendation, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, I will open up for public comment. Does anyone wish to comment on this item? Item 15. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Sandelli.
I'll second the motion. Mr. Chairman, and if I may ask some questions?
Yes, absolutely. Second from Commissioner Hammond. Okay, any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Hammond?
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, Mark, and the situation here. So, obviously, item 1 is to accept the $3.3 million from Atkins in good faith towards the structural design cost associated with the RSW terminal expansion project. So, kind of take us through that as much as you can. What happened there, and what is the status of that part of it?
I'll probably defer to legal staff on that one since they took the lead on that, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. County Attorney?
Board Commissioners, as you are aware, there are some outstanding issues between Atkins Engineering and the Port Authority. We have worked with both Port Authority staff, your staff, and Atkins Engineering to bring this item to you for consideration in its totality. We continue to work with Atkins. There are some ongoing challenges, but we're pretty comfortable with the working relationship. And I think item 1 under this agenda item indicates Atkins' good faith willingness to work with the Port Authority on the challenges that exist between not only the Port Authority, Atkins Engineering, but the general contractor on the site. We'll continue to have some challenges going forward, but we believe this is a positive first step in resolving those challenges and look forward to a continuation of the process. We think the agenda item in its totality, 1, recognizes each party's responsibilities, and then also frees up Atkins to focus their resources on getting the existing projects finalized for the benefit of both the Port Authority and the traveling public.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Attorney, for that answer. So it sounds like the priority then continues to be the same as what I understand the board's priority is. And let's get the terminal expansion completed in an expeditious manner as best we can with the situation that we have out there. And then obviously they've already completed the design on Concourse E. They are the engineer of record, so it seems like part 2 makes sense. It gives us the opportunity to have grant money available and continue with what's already been done there. And then part 3, we'll go ahead and choose somebody different for the rental car relocation expansion project.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, with the addition to that item 3 on Agenda 15 is actually to put the rental car project back out on the street. We have identified to Atkins that they are not barred from participating in that procurement process, but that there are no guarantees as to future awarding. But there's no debarment being sought at this point, and Atkins is free to compete in the open market with whomever else might be interested in securing that work on the rental car facility.
Okay, great. And what's the timeline on when we'll go out to procurement on that?
We're prepared within the next 2 weeks.
Okay. And then, final question, just as far as amending the contracts for the terminal expansion project, will that be another thing that will have to come back to us, or what's the timeline look like on that?
Yes, sir. We anticipate having those contracts amended for approval by the Port Authority at your next regular meeting.
Okay, thanks so much. Mr. Chairman, I think that concludes my question.
Okay. Also, I would like the board to consider a separate motion. I thought about this a lot, and obviously having some experience in the construction industry, I think it would help Port Authority, it would help this project. I think it would also help this board to make sure that we kind of understand and know all the facts and exactly what's going on with this project as it moves forward. I would like to see if a commissioner would consider making a motion that we ask the Port Authority staff to work with Lee County staff, basically for a second set of eyes to make sure that we're crossing all the Ts and dotting all the Is and make sure we get this project moving forward. I think having a little help on this one, since we've got some issues, makes sense. Would any of the commissioners consider making a separate motion for that, to asking our staff to work together?
Mr. Chairman, if I might just interject real briefly. You have a pending motion
I
and
need
a
to finish
second, if you would please, and
Yes.
then, because
Okay,
if there's a second motion to be
to
made
do after, okay,
for the record purposes, to keep those separate.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, thank you.
I would agree to amend my motion to include that.
Well, I think we're gonna keep it separate, he says,
Okay.
Commissioner. So we'll finish this up and then we'll ask for that second motion, okay? Any further discussion on this item at this point?
I'm gonna support it based upon the refund of the $3 million. I don't wanna deny that, but I do have some concerns and we'll be happy to discuss at the next motion.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Any further discussion over here? No? Okay, I have a motion to approve, from Commissioner Sandelli, a second from Commissioner Hammond. Are there any objections? Still need public comment on,
I think you did ask.
I asked for it, so we're good, right? Okay.
Mr.
All right.
Andres has a comment.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I have not heard yet, we get down to the expansion project is completed and the $3.3 million isn't sufficient. I haven't heard that maybe there is a plan in place. I just would like to hear it as to what can we do if that number exceeds the $3.3 million.
Yeah, I think we would ask the, attorney, please.
The $3.3 million that's a subject of this agenda item is a good faith deposit by Atkins Engineering. We have made it clear to them, and they have acknowledged freely that it is not a final settlement number. So those discussions will continue. Atkins wanted to tender that amount to demonstrate their continued willingness to work with the Port Authority, but both parties understand it's not the final settlement number by any means.
Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Sandelli, a second from Commissioner Hammond. Do we have any objections? No objection, motion moves unanimously. Okay, at this time, I would like to also discuss if there are commissioners are interested in bringing a motion to where we can ask the Port Authority staff to work with our county staff. Basically, just a second set of eyes to help each other. You know, I just know sometimes when issues come up in the construction industry, you lean on people that maybe see something you don't see. this is a very important project to Lee County, and we'd like to make sure it continues to move forward. So, just my thoughts on it, and if anyone wants to make that motion.
Chairman?
Yes,
If I
sir.
could, I could make a motion to, as of immediately tomorrow, the airport authority and the director will allow county procurement staff and county administration staff to be involved with the expansion and the expansion of the airport terminal in a construction manner for the next, until the completion of the project.
Okay. I will second that motion. Okay, we have any, discussion?
I do, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Just for clarity's sake, what does be involved mean?
So, as we talked about before, the county has built ballparks and some of the same contractors, Manhattan, with the ballparks and with different companies that works at the airport and port authority. So look at overall the construction projects of this. If you look back historically, we were talking about this project back in 2018, 2013 at a price over $240 million. Now, how we sit here today, 6 years later, which was been done last year, we're not even there yet. So I think that looking backwards, and doing it at the same time, I know we can say it's COVID, different things that's happened, but at the end of the day, though, construction still continued through the county. Those projects, building libraries and ballparks, were able to be completed in a timely manner. So to have another set of eyes to sit there and help their staff get through the process of construction and timeline and contracts.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great motion and plan to support it. Just was looking for some specifics so that the staffs know what to do with each other.
Right.
If you're, is one supervising the other, or is it more like just a consulting role? What are we looking at?
And this has been happening over the years, and Steve, poor Steve, you just you fall into this, you've been here, 2-3 years now? This has been going on for many, many years. I remember having this discussion back in December of 2013 with Bob Ball in my office. And his first thing he said to me, "Are you going to fire me once I get elected?" I said, "No, absolutely not. We're going to do a lot of things together." And we have been working together. But now we're in our fourth director. So again, thank you, Steve. But this is had nothing to do with the use. Is going just looking backwards. Some of these projects, I was told 12 years ago we'd have a second runway in 7 years. Some of these projects we were told, based upon your presentations here at the Port Authority, we were told in 2018 this would be done by summer of 23 last year. So here we are now. A lot of money's been spent, and I think we need to make sure we do a better job at that.
I also, to kind of touch on that a little more, I just believe not that the county's taking over, it's not that at all. It's just working together, a different set of eyes to say, hey, have you asked them this? Hey, what about this? Have you thought about that? We're all here for one reason, and that's to make sure that we take care of our constituents and that we, have an airport that we're proud of, and we get it on time and we get it going. And in construction business, I can tell you, there's as a contractor, you do nothing but solve problems, and it's a daily basis. So there's always issues that come up in projects. Nothing is designed perfect. At least I've not ran into one. So you're just kind of putting out fires, and I see an opportunity here to work together that, because we've obviously, the county's had to deal with things like that. You guys have had to deal with it out here, and it just makes sense. So, do I need public comment on this motion? Okay, I'd like to ask at this time, do we have any public comment on this motion? Okay.
May I?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
just
yes,
ask the
ma'am.
question, and maybe it's legal. The port won't get any criticism, will it, because it's using paid tax dollar staff time on this? Because we've always professed out there that the port is totally separate and different, and we don't use any of your tax dollars for what we do out here. So I just want to make sure that we don't
That's a great
open
question.
ourselves up for criticism.
My question is right along those lines. This is a massive project. I think the final tally for the expansion of Concourse E, are we talking about on Concourse E or the expansion or both?
I'm talking just this particular project.
Okay, so it's
Just to
like,
get it back on track.
on the terminal expansion's like 400 million total. That's a massive project, and it's gonna take a lot of hours even for the county staff to even understand what we're doing, and is there gonna be any effect on our budget because of that?
I don't think that's what we're asking for. What we're asking for, to clarify, all we're asking for is that bounce things off of each other a little bit, use your experience in the past from the county that's dealt with these, larger projects as well, just to take a look and say, hey, have you thought about this, just to work together. Like I said, they're not taking the project over by any means. It's just simply, we built these massive ballparks. We've done many, many projects, bridges, everything in the world here in Lee County, right? So, having that experience is good. So that I just think it makes sense, and it doesn't cost Port Authority any additional dollars to reach out to a separate consultant. You know, I just feel like we all work together anyway, so
Probably fine.
it just makes
Yeah.
sense to me. Is there any legal issues with this that you see?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, recognize.
we will certainly, if directed, keep track of the hours involved, and if it becomes of a budgetary magnitude, we'll report back to the board. The point is well taken. As you all know, there's a certain percentage of the county attorney's office budget that's funded by the Port Authority to reflect the legal assistance that we render to the Port Authority. Once the roles are defined, if it's of such a magnitude that it's of budgetary implications, we'll report back to you.
Okay.
But we don't necessarily anticipate that at this point, but I would defer to both the county manager and the port director for the development of those definitions and scope.
I like the clarity on that. I think it's best,
I agree.
we have an understanding, so if questions.
If I could, Chairman, also, Robbie, I think it's also access. I think this kind of started this conversation. I know county staff's been looking at some things probably in the past. If you go back to when Jeff was here, when we had some issues with communication and access. I understand everything keeps everything close to the chest and everything, but at the end of the day, when you looking back now, 4 years ago, wish I would have pushed it more then, because hopefully maybe we would be where we are today, but we didn't, so we are here now. So my goal is to try to get more employees involved so we get these projects done.
Yes, sir, recognize.
I think it only makes sense to have staff take a look at it. My concern there is that one of the specific problems that we've had, according to staff, on this project of the expansion of the terminal building, is that the wrong size steel girders were designed. I'm not sure how staff would have the technical expertise to have foreseen something like that. But to have someone, I had really thought we had that covered because we have engineers that look over the shoulder of engineers. And so I thought we had that covered, but here's a situation where it wasn't. And I think staff should be involved all the way down the line, but I'm not sure when it gets down on that level, what options they had at the time. Just to have stopped the project before it got so far along that now we're tearing things out to rebuild it.
I totally understand. I've talked with, in my briefings with Port Authority staff and give them some recommendations on how we don't allow that to happen in the future. Yes, it's just mistakes that happen in the construction industry, and it happened here, and I just think making sure that we get all of our assets on board to get this back on track and get it started, get it done, get it going. We got major projects obviously coming right behind this. So the quicker we can react and put the pressure on the powers to be, being the engineers and the construction, the builders to get going. Let's get going. Let's get this done. Every problem can be solved. There's many times in the engineering, when there's engineering problems, there's simple fixes, and there's a simple fix here. So, but it needs to get going, and we need to make sure that we don't make a future mistake.
Right.
Fair? Okay.
Last question, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, if I may,
Yeah,
just for the Port Authority attorney. So again, kind of along the lines we were talking about, does involving the county administration and county procurement department, does that then put any potential liability on them as far as any potential legal consequences that may happen in the future? Are we putting Lee County taxpayers on the hook for anything, is my question.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, recognize Kevin.
Difficult to answer liability questions in the abstract. There's nothing that comes to mind sitting here at this point in time that would subject the county tax dollars or taxpayers to liability by virtue of the motion that's on the floor.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion?
Along the lines, I've heard everybody say, I think if we can keep a real tight tab of this, not only on the hours, but, you know, any potential issues from liability, always would rather be safe than sorry, and would rather, have updates, understand this, but I think that, you know, Commissioner Hammond has a valid point about liability, and I'm just concerned. I don't want to see us proceed in a manner where we find ourselves faced with some liability and we didn't necessarily have anything legally, you know, even in a contract form to try to cover this or anticipate this. That's my anxiety on this.
Understood.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I might just add, and hopefully to create some comfort level. As I understand the motion, it's that the county staff would assist port staff, but that this is and will remain absolutely a port project.
Absolutely.
Thank
That
you.
is absolutely the intention of the motion. It's not, and I think I said that earlier, it's not where the county staff is by any means, the decision maker. The decision maker will be the Port Authority staff. It's just, I think just communicating together would help them. That's my whole thought behind it.
Another set of experience dies.
That's it. That's it. I understand the great questions, great concerns. We don't want to assume the liability on a project that we didn't have any involvement in designing or doing. So I just want to help Port Authority as much as we can, and we should be willing to do that as the Port Authority board to help them get back on track. That's it. So, yes, Commissioner.
For the county attorney, do you feel like this is necessary to memorialize
Memorialize.
in some written document that we're going to assist, provide any type of input? Do we need to put this in writing and clarify exactly what we're trying to do here?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, recognize.
Great question, and what I would suggest is we defer, or I'd be allowed to defer on that answer, once again, until we know the scope of the duties and responsibilities as outlined between the county manager and the port director.
If I may, I would like to ask
Point
you-
well taken.
Yes, a question as well. If we pull the motion, these are just suggestions. A motion to me, this is just for a suggestion to give them a helping hand. Do we need the motion? We could just simply say, we could pull the motion, and if Commissioner Pendergrass would want to do that, and just simply say, we would like to see y'all, you have an avenue of some assistance, a conversation, a meeting. If you're interested in doing it, I think it would be helpful.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
I would respectfully suggest that the motion be taken, action be taken on the motion. I think it would be important for both the county staff and Port Authority staff to know specifically the board's direction, and the board takes direction by virtue of motions.
Yes, sir. Okay.
If I could, and thank you for bringing this up, Chairman, is asking for a motion, but based upon what the county attorney said, I think this is to give clear direction to the director, because this has been attempted in the past over the years, going back the last 12 years I can testify to, and from the briefings with prior administrations, but nothing ever happened. So I think the motion moralizes that and makes sure that staff understands acceptance and to work with our county staff on this thing.
I agree, and
Make
I
sure it
think
gets
as a
carried
Port
out.
Authority board, we want we want this project to get going. You know, it's a long time coming, it's behind, there's some failures, and let's fix them. So we have a motion from Commissioner Pendergrass and a second from Commissioner Greenwell. Do we have more discussion? No further discussion? The motion moves unanimously 5-0. Okay. All right, Steve, please introduce, the next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Number 16, request board direction for the Concourse E project, and I'd like to ask Ms. Underhill to introduce that item.
Good morning. For the record, Emily Underhill, Deputy Executive Director of Development. As Steve said, administrative item number 16, request board direction related to the project delivery of the building portion of the construction work for the new RSW Concourse E project. As you're aware, in June of 2023, the board approved a contract with Suffolk to perform construction manager-related services for the Concourse E project. The contract provided flexibility in allowing Suffolk to serve in either a construction manager, general contractor, or CMGC role, and/or an agency construction manager role. At the recent conclusion of the design effort for the project, Suffolk was recently authorized to serve as the agency construction manager to support Port Authority-led bidding of 3 work elements, which are the terminal roadway widening, the landside work, valued at about $36 million, new apron and taxiway airside work, valued at about $142 million, and 14 new passenger boarding bridges, valued at a little over $25 million. These 3 separate hard bids are currently being advertised for bid to the general contracting community and are scheduled to be received on the 21st, 22nd, and 29th of this month. The latest estimates for the collective value of these 3 bid advertisements is about $204 million. The 2 options presented with this agenda item, as noted in the green sheet, relate to the question of who will hold the construction contracts for the balance of work that has yet to be bid, which is by far the largest segment of the work. This building work includes an expanded main terminal, a little over 313,000 square feet, a new 14-gate E facility, excuse me, over 180,000 square feet, and a renovated and upgraded central utility plant, a little over 9,800 square feet. All of these elements are now fully designed and ready to bid. The street value of this construction work, excuse me, is 2 times the value of work currently being bid. It is projected to be approximately $409 million. Considering the monetary magnitude associated with this building work, staff felt it prudent to pose the question and confirm the board's preference of the delivery method, considering the 2 options as outlined in the green sheet. So to summarize, with option number 1, the building construction work will ultimately be contracted to subtrade bidders through Suffolk, acting in the role of construction manager general contractor, or CMGC. If the board chooses option number 1, they will endorse the contract amendment negotiated by staff in the amount of $554,409.48 to have Suffolk perform the needed bidding services over the next several months, leading to their ultimate contractual role of CMGC during construction. Suffolk has done a great job during the design effort over the last year and have made great contributions in constructability reviews and providing input towards construction phasing, excuse me, sequencing, and suggestion on how to segment the work into 34 competitive, bondable, and biddable subtrade packages. Suffolk has worked with our DBE manager to also include percentage goals for minority participation within each package. In summary, they are spooled up for this responsibility and are ready to bid the building-related work as early as next week. With option number 2, the construction work will ultimately be contracted directly between a single general contractor and the Port Authority. If the board chooses option number 2, Port Authority Purchasing Department staff will procure the construction work to a general contractor based on a competitive low bidding effort. This design bid build delivery option leads to Suffolk's ultimate contractual role of an agency construction manager during construction, and they will not hold any subcontracts with subtrade bidders. Airport staff have and continue to use various delivery methods. Despite the chosen method of delivery, all projects present challenges and issues. Our experience has been that the delivery method is not what determines the success of a project, but rather it's the quality of the firm managing the construction, either as the construction manager solely, general contractor solely, or in a capacity of both roles. So based on extensive deliberation, it is staff's recommendation to proceed under option number 1. And Commissioners, I'd be happy now to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, this time, Commissioners, do we have any questions for staff? No questions? All right, I will open up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on item number 16? If so, raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Do we have a motion to approve? At this time, Commissioners?
I'll make the motion to approve number 1.
Okay, number 1, all right, Commissioner Sandelli makes a motion to approve number 1. We have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Okay. Further discussion? Any further discussion? No further discussion? Any objections? Seeing no objections, we have a motion from Commissioner Sandelli, a second from Commissioner Pendergrass. No objection, motion carries unanimously. Okay, at this time, that concludes the administrative agenda. We'll move on to walk-on items. Do we have any walk-on items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to commissioner items. Commissioner Pendergrass, do you have any commissioner items?
No items.
Commissioner Sandelli?
No.
Commissioner Hammond?
I have none.
Commissioner Rain? And I have none. So we'll go to committee appointments. Are there any committee appointments today?
No.
Okay, seeing none, we have none. At this time, I would like to introduce the Airport Special Management Committee Chair for any comments.
I do not feel I have any comments. Do any of the committee members?
No, I think we've had a pretty extensive meeting today.
Thank you for allowing us to
Yeah,
interact.
absolutely,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. They were great questions. All right, we will move to director items. Do we have any items?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple quick items. I'd like to start off with, we recently had our annual Part 139 FAA certification inspection. We had a gentleman come down from Washington, D.C., as well as our airport district office. A happy report, there were no findings or discrepancies, and we were found to be in compliance with 14 CFR Part 139, that our airport certification manual is up to date and looking good, as well as our airport operating certificate. I think it's important to note the FAA inspector commended staff for the day-to-day operation of the airport and stated that operational safety procedures are highly effective at RSW. So it's a huge collaborative effort, that's continual day in and day out. So kudos to the team that made that possible. The next item, more good news, our APD K-9 units recently had their annual evaluations and were 100% successful. This is a significant accomplishment, and I'd like to congratulate Master Officer Heald, Ross, Schaefer, Timothy, and Ung, and their respective K-9s. They had to go through very comprehensive training, and again, it just goes to show the efforts that our staff puts forward to keeping us safe. Over at Page Field, later this summer, we will host portions of the school district of Lee County's junior ROTC STEM program. It's a leadership academy between June 11th and 13th. This is a 6-day summer camp for approximately 120 high school students interested in STEM learning and careers. Cadets will be involved in various activities throughout the week to support this year's theme, which is STEM in the air and aviation. So our activities will include airport operations, maintenance, delivery quality assurance, some couple other activities slated for the week. We'll also include some flight training. We'll have displays of military aircraft and some personnel, as well as some interactions with some of the local members of Page Field, just to help invigorate the aerospace and aviation in our area. And finally, I'd like to share some noteworthy statistics. RSW reached 41 years of servicing Southwest Florida this past Tuesday. Since opening for commercial flights on May 14th, 1983, the airport has safely accommodated nearly 250 million passengers. In March 2024, we had more than 1.5 million passengers in the month, which is the second best month in the history of the airport, and we missed being the highest by approximately 4,600 passengers. So we're close, and that record was set in March of 22. So from December 2023 through March of 2024, RSW has surpassed more than 1 million passengers every month. And just late last night, we got the April 2024 numbers. And it's also looking like we're going to exceed 1 million passengers as well for April. So we're on track, and we appreciate all the support from the board and the ASMC. And just a quick note, after the meeting, we will have a budget workshop.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harrington. Is there any other Port Authority items? Okay, seeing none, I will call for any public comment. At this time, is there any public comment on any other matters not on the agenda? Does anyone wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, there is a workshop, right after this. I see no further, yes, sir.
Can I just make
Commissioner
one comment?
Sandelli, absolutely.
That's right. We had a recent honor flight come back a couple weeks ago, and I want to thank Steve and the whole staff. It's a great event. We have a lot of people here. The airport looked great. It's a very welcoming environment and stuff like that for the veterans, all those participating. So thank you all for making it another very successful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandelli. Any other comments? Okay, this time we adjourn. We'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll start the workshop. We are adjourned. All right, so, I'll call back to order, the meeting for the workshop. Please present the agenda.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody. It's Brian McGonigal. This is a very brief budget workshop for FY '25. We've got a good idea of where we think operating and personnel are going to come in at. The departments did a great job in submitting their detailed budget to us, so we appreciate that. So just a few slides. Here we are today, May 16th, workshop. May 29th, the airlines are coming in, and we're going to present the budget to them. They come in, the signatory airlines, they come in, we bring them in every May. So we have that all scheduled up in a few weeks. We'll be back here on the 11th with our ASNC to present to them. Back here again with the board for the joint board on June 20th for the tentative approval, and then downtown with the public hearings that are already scheduled now on the 3rd and the 17th. So here is the assumptions we use for total passengers. If you go down on the bottom and work your way up, these are all the actual passengers over the last several years. This 9.9 million before COVID was a record. We're climbing out of COVID here. 2022, fiscal year 2022 of 11 million passengers was a record. That was a record for us. This is post Ian here, and is reason for that dip. Good news is here we are here this year. We budgeted 10 million. We're forecasting right now to beat that. This is where we think we're going to be this year, 11.1 million passengers. So we're real confident we're going to have a record year this year. We're already, through March, we're already 12% up over last year. So we're having a great year. People are coming. So we're budgeting 11.5 million next year, which is 2.5% increase, conservative. So good news, the record passengers. Landed weight ebbs and flows just like our passengers, so it's really the same story on this growth here. This is landed weight's important in our landing fee calculation. So so let me just briefly tell you what in our operating for Page Field, we're looking at a 6% increase from 54 million to 57.7 million. So 6%, we did work the departments. We told them to hold the line on this year's spend. They did a great job. But there were some increases and decreases that I've highlighted here. Overall, we saw $500,000 decrease in insurance, mainly in property. So we're pleased to see that. Utilities is up 13%. That is electric, water, and fuel. You're probably seeing that down in the county. You're probably seeing utility increases. We put a 3% inflation factor in there, 950 grand. That's based in inflation back in May. We're always, our maintenance department is always doing maintenance projects. We've got, I want to highlight a couple of them. I think that's important. Maintenance projects include the restroom remodel in our rent-a-car facility, which needs an update. Airfield lighting project is about 400,000. And the perimeter gate around the whole airport, we're gonna harden that up and strengthen those gates for safety reasons, and that's about $400,000 project. And then here is kind of a catch-all in this operating here is a lot of, we've got some significant IT projects going on. We're gonna put an entire new ID management system in. We think it's gonna come in at $1 million. That is where we badge all our employees. We're gonna put a new system in. Most of that cost will be offset by the cost of badges, so we're not gonna absorb that entire million. We'll get it back. We're continuing our fleet vehicle replacements, so we got about $700,000 of replacements and new vehicles coming in next year. Our website design is underway, it just got approved, that'll be about $300,000. And we've got a ground transportation management system, about 157. So overall, again, it's 6% increase in operating, which we think is reasonable. Personnel side, no, excuse me. If you recall, we got $79 million back in 2020 in these 3 different congressional acts for CARES, CARISA, and OPER. We were extremely lucky to get that $79 million. We used it every year, and we're gonna use it all up this year. So in next year's budget, we have no, it expires. So I just wanted to show you that what we've used over the last 5 years. I'm very grateful that we got that. It kept the cost down. It kept our operating costs down for the airlines, but now it's running out, so. Personnel, we are, like last year, we're putting a placeholder in for a 5% pay plan adjustment on 10 million. It's strictly a placeholder. We'll wait for further feedback from you commissioners, but it's about $2 million. We are allocating 5 new positions next year. Excuse me, 5 at here, 1 at Page Field. I'm sorry. So it's 6 positions, 5 here and 1 at Page. The positions here are 3 in our maintenance department, a mechanic, and 2 in grounds. We're adding a concession compliance person in the terminal, and we're also adding a position in development, as we discussed earlier, to oversee more eyes on these projects that we talked about earlier. So we got a position in development for that. So that will bring our head count to 434 between both airports, and our goal is always to maintain a consistent level of full-time employees to total passengers. So this is like a very, very high-level roll-up. Here's our passengers that I showed you before, from 10 million to 11. All the money, 76 million coming in from the airlines. The non-airline revenue, this is good news, is 13 million. This is rent-a-cars and parking and land rents. So this is growing strong. Personnel, as I showed before, is up 9%, and operating is up 6%. This is the COVID funding that is now done this year. That's why it's 0. So when you take revenues minus expenses, it's 65 million. After debt, it's 27 million net funds remaining. This is the first year of our new 10-year agreement, so the revenue sharing is now 70-30. It was 60-40, so that'd be 19 to the port and 30% to the airlines. Overall, the cost per EP, the cost to the airlines, we're estimating to be about $9.31. And we'll, like I said, we'll bring the airlines in a few weeks and really dive into detail with them on this. And our friends at Page Field is looking really good. We're budgeting 2.2 million gallons here. The record at Page was 2.7 million gallons a few years ago in 2022. So we're estimating 2.2 million gallons. This is the total fuel sales minus cost of fuel. Operating revenue, 6.5 million. One thing to point out is we are recommending, like we did this year, a 4% increase in our hangars at Page. And also the new hangar project, there's 81 hangars being built right now. we're budgeting those to go online in December, 81 of them. So it'd be good to see those up and filled. So there's our personnel and operating. Just a slight increase in operating at 3%. So they did a great job. They held the line. And our surplus is going from 850,000 to 2.3 million. So Page Fields is remaining strong. And that was it. I told you to be short. Very high level. I hope you appreciated that. Is there any questions?
Yeah, Commissioner Sandell.
Real quick, you got a big jump from proposed budget 24 to 25. 65%. The airlines have
This here?
aircraft problems. They've got training problems with pilots and stuff. Is that a realistic number, do you think?
Yeah. This is what they're paying us.
I know,
Yeah.
but that they're paying you based on the fact that they can deliver the service, so.
Yeah. We do think it's a good number.
Hope they can. I just know we're traveling next month and the schedule and stuff has been a mess. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, Commissioner.
Along those same lines, I mean, I think that's a great question, Commissioner Sandelli. I love the terms that they use when they talk about the greater economy, that they're coming in for a soft landing. Say, for instance, nobody has a crystal ball, but do we have a contingency plan for if the economy doesn't come in for a soft landing? What happens to that airline revenue number if we did have a greater economic dip? I mean, as people start traveling less, would we see that impact us all the way here at RSW?
Well, it has happened here years ago. We took a significant during the recession, and what we did is we held the line on our expenses, which we would do again, but God forbid that happens again, we would hold the line on expenses. And we have coverage protection in the airline agreement, so we're protected as far as paying debt. They have to pay it. But we would certainly be real careful and take mitigating factors should that happen again.
Okay. How far off, I see that you're comparing the 76.2 million on the airline revenue to last year's adopted budget. How far is that off of what you're projecting the airline revenue to come in at for this year?
Oh, that certainly, any idea with that? We're definitely beating that.
It's two different agreements.
Oh, it is?
The 24 budget's
Mr. Chair.
the current agreement, and the 25 budget's the new agreement.
Yeah, well,
We're on track for the 24.
we're on track for that. Okay.
All right. So it's kind of comparing apples to oranges then? 'Cause
Kind of
agreement's
with the two different
Okay,
agreements,
that
yes,
makes
sir.
Okay.
I have a question. I see the revenue obviously for the airlines, and not every year, every few years, we talk about the revenue we return back to the airlines, always comes up through negotiations with employee contracts and stuff. Employees are always wondering why we get all this money back, the millions of dollars back to the airline. How do you negotiate to get to that number based upon you give $4 million back to Delta, $2 million back to United? What calculation, what matrix do you use to determine that magic number?
So if I understand your question, this 30% back to the airlines goes back by employments. So if Delta had 20% of the employments, they'd get 20% of that money.
Okay.
Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, pretty much, because, that's some comes up, through negotiations. I know from our staff working with the fire and police, they always say, well, the airport has this extra money, the revenue's up, we have an increase. We see an increase across the county because they always compare the county compared to the airport. Obviously, it's tax-based compared to user fees, so I get it. I'm just wondering how to explain it back to them as they see these revenues being returned to the airlines. They're just like, why don't you keep those revenues and use it for our equipment, capital improvements, or use it for salaries? And I know it cannot be used for salaries, but I was trying to help you guys in the future as that message, that communication comes up through those negotiations, how to basically qualify that.
Well, we did, like I said, we have a new 10-year agreement. It was a 60-40 for years split. We negotiated the 70-30. The airlines wanted to stay at 60-40.
Right.
We wanted a little bit more. And for over the 10 years, the first 3 years are going to be 70-30. The next 7 will go back to 60-40. We negotiated that with them because we need the money now to get these, to jumpstart these projects. And just saying, this 70% money is always used towards our CIP program.
So what's the norm across the region for international airports for that revenue sharing of the airports? Is it around 70-30, 60-40?
It varies. I've seen 80-20. I'd have to, this is what I've seen. I've seen 80-20, 70-30, 60-40.
Okay.
Which is
Thank
typical. Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Ray.
I guess I'm looking at the proposed budget and, I see the dramatic increase in revenue, see expenses, but, what concerns me, the days of cash seem to have slipped 10% or 70 days. I mean, with revenue at 76 million, we're still using reserves to balance.
Yeah, our goal, Commissioner, is always to be, days cash on hand is to be no less, we're real comfortable about 675 days to 750 days cash. It ebbs and flows all the time. The reason it's dropped a little bit is we're starting to pay debt on the terminal expansion project next year. The Cap-I ran out, how Cap-I works. We had it for 3 years. So we are comfortable with 700 days. The rating agencies are comfortable when they see us throw that number up there. We're not comfortable with anything south of 650. We don't see that happening.
Follow up?
Yes, Commissioner.
I guess to the point, that you just referred to, the debt certainly has jumped up. And it seems like to make this work, we've had to go in and there's a trend, and I hope a trend doesn't continue, of having to use days of cash to actually service our debt. That's what it certainly looks like.
Yeah.
Because the jump up is obviously in debt, and then you actually deplete your days of cash by 10%. So if you had that trend continue, you'd run into your bottom line of days of cash.
Yeah.
Just concerned.
Okay. And our projections show a healthy level of cash over the years. But I understand your question. Okay.
May I just?
Yes, absolutely, right.
Brian, the one thing that always, and maybe it's just the banker in me, I don't know. When we do these workshops and different things, we're always taking our proposed budget and comparing it to our adopted budget. And we only really ever see how budget went against actual one time. I mean, at the ASMCs, we never see the financials. So do you ever take this and make sure that, I'm sure you do, but just give me a peace of mind, I want to hear you do. You take when you get started with this, you take our adopted budget 24 and see how well it has aligned up to the actual.
Yes.
And footnote and
We
yourself covered.
we call that, we call that estimated actuals, and we run it every month. How are we doing against budget? And
and you go ahead and forecast, because a lot of things have happened, right? Beyond
Yes.
the control that might take a budget off course and whatnot.
And we do that every month. And if I can just show you back, like we did here in this forecast number here.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we look at it every month. How did passengers do? So this is our forecast, and we do the same thing at revenues and expenses every month. How's the year going? So we're having a really good year, and that's 11.1. So yes, we do.
I just never see actual as
Okay.
compared to budget, so that was the only thing.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, thank you for the
Yeah,
presentation.
thanks for your time, I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
And we are adjourned.